Hello there! So thank you for joining me. We're going to embark on a rather complicated subject, and I'm going to try and make it as easy to understand as possible. So we're going to talk about algae today, aquarium algae. Now there are many different types of aquarium algae, and most of them are caused by specific deficiencies or too much of something within your aquarium. What I'm going to be talking about is algae in general, not a specific type of algae, just green stuff in general. So firstly, I just want to clarify that algae is a natural thing to get within an aquarium. You will always get a certain amount. Even in the most balanced aquariums, you will always get something that you don't want growing in there. Even if that is just green specks on your glass. If you can see, probably not, I get green algae on my glass. There's a bit there you can see. I get a bit of that brown hair algae, but it's not out of control. It's in balance with the rest of my aquarium, and it doesn't look unsightly. It's natural. What I'm talking about in this video is when you have lots of algae all over your aquarium that you just can't seem to get rid of, and the more you clean it, the faster it comes back. So let's have a look at what can cause those problems. The first major issue would be lighting. Now obviously lighting is very important for an aquarium. You need it for your plants, you need it to see your fish. However, if it's done wrong, which is very easy to do, you can get an algae problem. So the first thing you want to do is check that your lighting is actually for a freshwater aquarium. And that means it needs to be a daylight colour lighting. So not for a marine aquarium. The second thing you want to check is, has that lighting, if it's a tube light, been changed recently? Because tube lights will lose their spectrum over a period of a year, roughly, depending on the type of tube. And after that, it is very, very good for making algae grow. The third thing for lighting you want to check is how long is it on for? If your lighting is on too much, you will actually get more algae than you will probably want. So you need lighting on for about 6 to 8 hours a day. Any more than that, and you will tend to be promoting algae rather than plant growth. The second biggest contributor to algae in your aquarium is excess nutrients. Nitrate is usually the biggest factor, and nitrate is caused by the nitrogen cycle within your aquarium, which is actually a good thing. You want there to be a nitrogen cycle, and you want nitrate to be produced, because that's how all the waste from your fish and the fish food is handled. However, if you let the nitrogen build up and it's not being used by anything such as plants, then you will have it being used by algae. So how do you reduce nitrates? Well, the first and most effective way of reducing nitrates is to do regular water changes. I recommend that you do about 30% water change on your aquarium every week, and that should be sufficient to reduce the nitrate and then reduce your algae problem. However, if you're finding that that isn't enough, then you might find that the nitrates are being introduced in one of two ways. Firstly, you've got too many fish in your aquarium. Too many fish, they will all produce waste from their excrement, and therefore you will have too much nitrate in your aquarium, and that will build up. Second factor is you've got a fine amount of fish, they're all the right size and there's the right number of them. However, you're feeding them too much. Again, all this food will go through the fish, create waste, come out as nitrate, or they may not even eat the food and the food gets rotten and turns into nitrate source. So first thing you need to do when you look at nitrates, check that you've got the right number of fish in your tank and you're not feeding them too much, and you're doing water changes. All of those three things combined should solve your nitrate problem and reduce your algae. If you have tried all of the suggestions for my nitrate reducing within your aquarium and you're still having problems with high nitrates, it might be that nitrates are actually coming in on your tap water. If that's the case, then you may want to do one of two things. Either use RO water that's been remineralized for your aquarium, or you can add nitrate absorbing media into your aquarium. So they tend to be either pellets or a foam, and they will absorb the nitrate directly from your water and onto that media. That media, however, will need to be changed regularly. The next most common chemical that you will have a problem with for promoting algae is phosphate. Now that's a nutrient that will be quite happily used by algae to grow. Now this isn't something that generally gets introduced to your aquarium by the fish. However, it can sometimes be introduced by adding food. Generally though, it comes from the tap water itself. A lot of tap water will be high in phosphates. The best way of dealing with phosphate is to use similar medias as to the nitrate absorbing ones, but ones that absorb phosphate. They will go into your filter and absorb the phosphate out of the water. Now another cause of algae, which is more relevant to heavily planted aquariums than it is to aquariums with no plants or few plants, is chemical imbalance. So what I mean by that is plants require certain chemicals for growth, certain nutrients, so nitrates, phosphates, they need CO2, they need iron, so on and so on. However, if your plants are missing one of those or a few of those important nutrients, their growth will be limited. For instance, if in your aquarium you've got sufficient lighting, you've got nitrates, phosphates, all the other nutrients in your aquarium that plants grow, but you lack CO2, your plants won't really grow, but there will be the nutrients involved in your aquarium for algae to grow. So in a planted aquarium, you need to make sure that you're promoting the growth of your plants rather than the growth of your algae. So in this case, a solution to algae would be to add CO2. Now it's quite complicated and you do need to try and figure out what is limiting your plant's growth. But once you make sure that your plants are getting all of the nutrients that they need, your algae that are feeding off the nutrients at the moment should die back because your plants will outcompete them. So let's just take a look at what you can do to reduce algae via adding livestock to your aquarium. So long as you've followed all my suggestions so far on your lighting, made sure that you're not overdoing it with your nutrient load or you're not overstocked, and that you are chemically balanced in your aquarium, you may want to add some algae eaters to your aquarium, and they won't solve your problem of algae. Don't be fooled. Adding something like this, an ancistrus, to your aquarium won't suddenly make all your algae problems disappear. In fact, sometimes it can make it worse because you are essentially adding another fish to your aquarium, which will produce more waste. However, if you have a balanced aquarium and you want something to go around and keep your wood or ornaments, glass, etc. clean, then something like an ancistrus or another algae-eating type catfish can be very, very helpful. Just bear in mind that you need to buy one that grows to the right size for your aquarium. Now, algae in an aquarium can be a very annoying thing, and even if you follow everything I've just said, it's still possible that you can end up with a problem with algae, and it can come from even the smallest imbalance within your aquarium. Now, I've tried to cover all of the things that I generally tell my customers where I work. 9 times out of 10, the problem is either the lighting or lack of water changes, overfeeding, or having too many fish in your tank. So, thank you for watching. I hope it hasn't been too boring. I hope it's been useful. Hopefully, if you follow what I've just said to you, if you can understand it, understand my ramblings, your algae problem should disappear. Yeah, again, thank you for watching and happy fish keeping.